Welcome to the first of the Thrive Diaries, where today I have the absolute privilege of sitting down with a true visionary. Someone who hasn't only transformed education in his field, but is also shaping conversations around growth and success. Now, you may know him as the founder of Dentinal Tubules, an innovator in dental education, but more recently, he's been inspiring professionals and leaders beyond dentistry, exploring what it truly means to thrive. He's an educator, a leader and a thinker who challenges us to grow both in our careers and beyond. Please welcome Dhru Shah. Dhru, an absolute privilege to have you on today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. First Thrive Diary, how exciting is that?
Very exciting. And talking about thrive, what is your definition of thrive? What is thrive?
Do you know, let's explore this a bit more. People have become too addicted to achievement kind of success. People are not paying attention to the process, the fun of doing things. All they want to do is try and achieve success and get recognition for it, traditional success. Our education system, it doesn't make you enjoy the education, it just wants you to succeed in your marks or you're passing your exams. And we've now got a world that's so focused on results that it's detached people from really engaging and enjoying what they do. And Thrive is all about doing that, finding a meaningful problem that really resonates and creating solutions that invigorate and make a difference in the world. It's about finding that thing that lights your spark, that lights you from inside, and doing something that genuinely makes you thrive because you're enjoying doing that. And then you create the impact, then you get the results from there. It's coming from the inside, not the outside. I don't need awards, rewards, and all that cheap crap. Thrive is about having the inside energy, that's what it's about. I think it's a more meaningful and inspiring living that people need.
I see what you mean. It is inspiring. People do need that. But why? Why is it important? Especially if people are okay as they are, if they're content. Why do they need to thrive?
Are they? I talk about those 15 problems, right, in today's world. People are, I can't give you a list of all 15, there's a question, but people are overwhelmed. Some people go to work every morning going, do I have to go in? They're disengaged, they're uninspired, they're bored at work. People are distracted because this is not interesting. They're looking for things to excite and interest them and, do that. People are confused. People don't know which way to go. Some people are frustrated at work. They feel constrained. And there are people who are so feeling undervalued, unappreciated, and trapped in all of this. So they don't know any better. So they kind of go, I have to accept this, When I was in school or when I was doing my journey, it was all about, you got to do this, make the sacrifices, put the pains aside. You got to aim for the results. But we know there's better ways now. The world has opened up, really. So if you're comfortable what you're doing, fine. But if you're not inspired, if you're not waking up every morning with a spring in your step that I'm going to be doing something I enjoy and I'm going to be making a meaningful difference to the world in the future, then you're not thriving. And that's one side of things. But thriving is also healthy, because when you're thriving, you're happy. When you're happy, just think of the energy, the enthusiasm, the positivity you bring into other people's lives, your family life, your relationships, people around you. What a difference that makes. Do you want someone who's frustrated, bored, and demotivated around you? Or do you want someone who's truly loving what they do, making a difference to other people, contributing to a bigger world cause, not just thinking selfishly about the result? Which one would you prefer? The second one, right?
The latter, absolutely. But then, having said that, who would you say Thrive is for? Because if you're a blacksmith or a TV presenter or somebody working in hospitality, why would you need to thrive if you already enjoy your job?
I think Thrive is deeper than just enjoying. Enjoying is a part of Thrive. But Thrive is about creating focus. So the 5 pillars of Thrive, right? And you've got to know this. We live in a world of chaos, a lot of information coming in, a lot of things coming at ourselves, too many other things coming at us. Now, the first thing about Thrive is you go, I'm not frantic in that chaos. I'm sort of, I know roughly I can cope with the chaos. So it's a mindset of staying with uncertainty, The second thing about thrive is not just enjoying what you do, but actually doing it for solving or addressing a specific, meaningful problem. The third thing is having a clear focus of where you're taking this. The fourth thing is finding a proper, effective solution that creates impact. And the fifth thing is you never stop. So it's not just enjoying, you're growing then, you're evolving. And so enjoying makes it fun, but then it's contributing to something. It's staying with that restlessness and building a vision. So it really goes deeper and brings everything together. That's thrive. Wake up every morning. Go, I'm going to make a difference today. I'm going to create impact for something I truly care about, and I have clarity of where I'm going. How cool is that?
It's very cool. In fact, you've got me excited now.
Yeah, it's those 5 things, right? We talk about those 5 things where you have composure instead of restlessness, where you have resonance with what you do instead of disengagement, where you have clarity instead of confusion, where you have impact instead of being ineffective, and generally where you know you're evolving and growing instead of feeling stuck. Those are the 5 pillars of thrive.
Okay, so we know where you are, we
Yeah.
know where you want to get to, being thrive, or thrived, if that's even a word. But how
Thriving.
do you... Thriving. Well, how do you get there? How do you become a thriver, if you like?
Growth. The way you grow is the journey to thriving. When you talk about growth, you know, a lot of people talk about growth as, I'm going to get better at what I do. You know, and you have, I don't know, motivational speakers who go, bro, you got to grow, you got to get outside your comfort zone. Nothing wrong in that, but what does that mean? It's like me telling you, you got to run, Jem. What does that mean? I've got to move my foot and just run? It's got to have structure, and growth is the structure to thrive. Our growth has always been based around, you know, work hard, master a skill, follow the same steps again and again, and achieve success. Thrive is a different form of growth. It's a completely different way of growing. And that's how you get to thrive. There are about 12 or 15 tools of growth, but you follow them in these 5 things that help you go there.
Okay, well, tell me about growth. What kind of growths are there?
I call them static growth and dynamic growth. Static growth is assuming the world around you is going to stay static. So you just master a solution, and then you go out there and you learn about it, and you repeat it, you just kind of deepen that solution and become good at it. And that's old system growth. Our whole career is based on that. Spend the first 20 years learning, you know, go to school, go to high school, go to college, go to university, get a degree, and then you become someone, I'm qualified, and you then use that skill for the next 40 years. I call that static growth, because a 40-year plan can only work if the world around you isn't going to change.
Yeah.
Who talks about 40-year plans, right? In today's world, if you can talk about 3-year plan, you're lucky, right? I mean, the world is changing rapidly. AI. You drive a Tesla. You've seen how driving has changed in, 5 years, 6 years? I think your Tesla automatically brakes. My manual Ford Fiesta, I still got to brake and turn the gear down. That's the change you see. So your growth pathway has to be different. So you'll be learning throughout life, but you can only learn and have clarity about what you want to learn if you understand what problem you're solving. So the first step is understanding there's a chaotic world and having a mindset to live in that world. That's a different mindset. I call it the morph mindset. The second thing is connecting to a problem that truly resonates with you. A problem, a challenge, an obstacle that's going to advance things. There's a third thing, and people don't understand this, but we live in a very complex world. There's not just a problem, it's a complex problem. It's an interrelated problem. Understand their complexity. And when you can understand the problem and its complexity, you power up a solution that makes impact, that solves that. And then you evolve and evolve. Learning never stops. It's not a 40-year plan. Learning is a habit. Growth is a habit of life.
Something about lifelong learning. It's not just in the medical field, is it? It's in all fields. So how would you say growth and thriving would help those people who never want to give up learning? Because some people love learning, right?
Yeah.
I love learning. You do.
Some people hate learning. You know, I had a friend who's a medical doctor And I was telling him about what I'm really excited. And this was about 3-4 years ago. You know, I was reading lots of books. I was telling him I'm enjoying this, and it's like I'm amazed at the age of 40 you still have this much energy to get up at 5 in the morning and learn. I'm done. I did my exams and no more. And so when you talk about lifelong learning, it's not about lifelong learning, it's about lifelong growing. You will only learn about something that is exciting, that's enjoyable, that's truly engaging, right? We don't learn about everything. I know you and I enjoy learning, but the truth is, I ask you to learn certain things, you'll be like, can I be bothered? There are other things you'll be immersed, you'll go, yeah, I'm doing this. It is because the learning, it attached to a problem you're solving, which is again going back to, I say, find a meaningful, inspiring challenge. Learning is about you gaining knowledge and skills, right? Why do we learn? We don't just learn. We learn so we can have some skills or knowledge that'll help us overcome a challenge. That'll give us the tools, that'll give us the ability to jump over and make the leap. But what are you making the leap on? That nobody thinks about. And that's where true power lies. And that's a key element of Thrive. And I call that kind of growth dynamic growth. The 40-year plan is static growth because you think life will be static. Dynamic growth is about a changing, morphing world. You know, that's what you want to think about.
And when it comes to particular people, we talked about, you know, different industries, and you said most people in most industries can thrive. But is there a particular mindset that somebody needs to have in order to thrive and grow?
A morph mindset.
Tell me more.
You know, if I tell you, Jem, I want you to do something, but I don't know what's the outcome going to be. I don't know where it's going to go. You'll be a bit like, I'm not sure.
Run the London Marathon. You don't know if you're going to do it in 3.5 hours or 12.5 hours.
Not even that. I don't even know if you'll finish. I'll just tell you run.
Oh, thanks.
You know,
I mean, you know.
But yeah, you got to start running. But you know what I'm saying is, if I told you though that actually run in this direction, and you may be able to, by the time you reach the end, there's a really good reward there. There's a pot of gold. You'll run there. We're driven by certainty. If you know there's a sure outcome, you will do it. If you're not sure, then you're not sure. Because historically, when we were cave people, I suppose, evolutionary, we needed certainty to survive, right? You needed that certainty. But today's world is about uncertainty. There's too much going on around. So one of the first things about the mindset is you've got to be comfortable with uncertainty. You've got to be comfortable with chaos around you. And that's the first step. Static growth, someone goes, oh God, I've got to solve this, I've got to solve this, I've got to solve this. Dynamic growth, you go, there's a lot of issues to solve, but I'll be comfortable with them being unsolved and just spend the time figuring out what's the deeper problem here. I'm not going to sort these surface issues because they're just signs and symptoms of something. I'm going to go deeper.
The only thing with that is you can spend forever in a lifetime trying to work that out, but you need to surely enable someone to move on, to progress, right?
There's a way to do it. That's what, if you find a meaningful problem, moving on is about understanding that problem and powering up an effective solution. You linger around that because once you've found the meaningful problem, you don't solve it.
Right.
But you don't jump to the solution. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, let's look at our problems in maths and English and school, right? Maths. You were given a set of math sums to pass an exam. Did anyone ask you to think about the problem in the sense that, is this a relevant problem? No, you were just told, here's a problem, find the solution. So you were constantly solution focused. You're not thinking a bigger picture. With Thrive, you're thinking about the underlying problem first, then powering a solution that fits that, yeah? Because your context will be different from mine.
Yeah.
That's what you kind of want to work with.
Okay, so what happens to the person or the people that you've enabled their growth and they're thriving now? Are they then at the end of their journey, they're thriving, they've grown as much as they can? What's next for those people?
It never ends. Because there's one thing, that by thriving, they powered a solution. But like I say, the fifth step of thriving is evolving and growing. They look around the changing world and they think, okay, what's the next thing I should look at? You're solving a meaningful problem. They'll either find another meaningful problem or they will go deeper in the problem they're solving. They connect to a powerful cause or a purpose, right? Now they're advancing, not just solving a problem, they're advancing a deeper cause. And that's what we love. And these people are thriving. What we found, I wish I'd measured it at that time. I didn't have a measurement tool. Now we have the 15 questions, which give you an idea of whether you're static or dynamic.
Are they questions or are they challenges?
The 15 questions we put out there, and those questions give you the challenges and how much do you relate to those challenges, and that gives you a score. But these people, I didn't measure them, but when you speak to them, they kind of go, you know, I went into big firms, I did this in my career, I did this in my career, and they come back and they say, but today what I'm doing is so powerful and meaningful. I get out of bed enjoying what I'm doing. And to me, that's really powerful. They say it's meaningful. They say it's making a difference to somebody. And there's no more fulfilling and satisfying tool than that.
You've obviously done some research into this because you know your stuff, okay? But tell me about you, yourself. Are you growing? Are you thriving?
I'm always thriving. When somebody asks me, Dhru, how are you? And I say, living the dream. And they go, aren't we all kind of sarcastic? I said, no, I'm really living the dream. That's my thriving. I am living the dream.
Love it.
I'm myself. You know, the meaningful problem solving means I'm myself all the time. You barely see me wearing a suit. I normally don't iron my t-shirt. I'm myself. I don't have to step out of being somebody else. I find myself creating things that make a difference for people and growing. At one point you saw me as a dentist and a periodontist. Now you see me as this guy who's a leader making a difference for others. You see me as this person who is being the change maker, the catalyst for other change makers, people who truly want to make an impact. That's part of my evolution process, and doing that. I mean, how much have you evolved in our conversations and our interactions? What have you been doing new that you were not doing 2 years ago? How much of that have you done?
Oh, about 500%.
Right.
So many new things. So many new things. You know, you talk about growth and you talk about thriving. And I remember having this conversation with you probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I said, Dhru, I think I'm content. I'm happy. I'm always learning. And then you said, Jem, you're thriving.
Yeah.
And that actually made me happy, even though I am. No one told me I was thriving. So the fact that you told me that I was thriving actually made a difference. How odd is that? It's weird, isn't it?
It is. And you didn't know it, but you were doing it.
Yeah.
You know, traditional success is all about achieving. Thriving is all about living. And what a difference there is. You know, people chase this pot of gold for years and they get to it and they go, is this it?
Yeah.
And thriving, every morning, life is a pot of gold. How cool is that?
That's a really good attitude to have every single morning. But look, you did say we live in a changing world, changing times. What's your vision? Where do you think we'll end up in terms of, you know, thriving and growth?
I think, thriving and growth, dynamic growth, not static growth. Dynamic growth that takes to thriving is a tool and a way of, you know, behaving and being that I've created. I believe it's a powerful tool. It's a powerful tool because it allows humans to flourish in a chaotic world. We live in a very chaotic world, right? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And we've seen it over the last few years, whether it's COVID or whether it was the economic challenges of one country invading another one, or the economic challenges where a president puts tariffs or whatever, right? We don't know. And people need a different way of thinking and a different way of doing things to be able to thrive in that world. I think maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I don't know, 6 years ago, we were walking along the grounds of Northwick, Heathrow Park in Oxford, and you said, what's the vision? And I said, I want to see 2 billion people tubulized. And now I sort of evolved that, so I still want 2 billion people thriving. Tubulized is thriving. It's the same sort of approach and meaning, really. But that's the vision. I want people to wake up every morning going, no matter what is happening around us, no matter which way the wind is blowing, they feel I can weather this storm and I can do something that's really empowering for me, empowering for somebody else. And together we can advance this world to make it a better place for our children.
Yeah. Love that. And stronger together.
Stronger together, everyone says.
Talking about stronger together, when we're talking about thriving and growing, is it really for an individual, or can you take this to businesses and organizations as well?
You know what I tell people? You can't lead others until you lead yourself. When you take yourself from this traditional success where you're overwhelmed and you hate your work and you're confused, you're not making an impact, to thriving, where you're like, oh, in all that chaos, I can be myself, solve something meaningful, and really make an impact. When you take yourself there and you find the fire in your belly, then you can create that spark somewhere else, right? And I always say thrive is for everyone, but thrive begins with you. And when you start leading yourself to thrive, you start creating teams and people who thrive. And when you create people who thrive, you create an organization and a business that thrives. And do you know why I like this? Because thriving leaders create thriving teams. And when a team is thriving, you don't have to motivate them. You know, you can, the team is internally inspired and energized enough to advance the cause of that business. How powerful is that? You know, people go, how do I motivate my teams? And I say, well, you know, I get people like that. I've got 40 people, they don't care. So I kind of go, okay, how much are you thriving? You know what, it's just a job. If it's just a job for you, how are you going to put the fire in the belly of other people, right? And what do a lot of businesses do? Instead of putting the fire in the belly of people, they put the fire under their bum. They freak them out. You know, they put sanctions or whatever on them. How are you going to get people moving with that? So thriving is for individuals and businesses, but it starts with that thriving leader. When you can find your inner spark, you can create fireworks everywhere. That's what it's about.
It's about making people smile, about making them come out of their shell perhaps, because I'm thinking if you're an introvert, you're probably not going to be thriving, are you?
No, everyone thrives. You can be an introvert and thrive.
Really?
Yeah, because you don't have to be an extrovert.
Let me give you an example. What if you're a runner or a tea maker, right at the very bottom of the ladder?
Yeah.
How are you expecting them to thrive?
Wait, stop. Why do you say that's the bottom of the ladder?
Because that's where you start. That's how I started.
That's how you started.
I started in the TV industry making teas for everybody and going out and getting baguettes for everyone for lunch.
Do you know something? The person who does that, at heart of it, is truly invested in service, right? I don't think they're bottom of the ladder. The person who makes me the tea is probably top of the ladder for me. Because without what they do every day, I couldn't do what I do, right? Thriving, and that's what I'm saying, it's not a ladder, it's not a career. You're not going to go up the ladder. Thriving is you finding the thing that is your rail track, not your ladder. If you're a tea maker, brilliant, doesn't matter, because you thrive in solving the meaningful problem of serving others. And you know what you do? You realize that there's complexities here I can learn, and I can power a solution that gives all the people around me the kind of tea that warms them up, that energizes them, right? And then they grow in that. And actually, you're not a tea maker anymore. You might open up a restaurant. You might open up a tea bar. You might find solutions. Thrive is all about finding that spark. You don't go up a ladder to try and achieve something. You just know the thing that makes you spark and move forward doing that. We don't like cleaning, let's say. But I know somebody who thrives on that. They put their headphones on, they listen to the music, and they create some beautiful environments for others. Do you know why? Because that's what makes them thrive. That's what it's about. It's for everyone.
Yeah.
And we're in a world where people are so busy trying to earn a living, they forgot to connect with themselves, to find the thing that really makes them thrive. That's what I want to achieve.
You're kind of, in my head, you're blurring the boundaries of thriving, and don't laugh at this, and meditating.
Well,
We've kind of come full circle.
I suppose, you know, when you thrive, you're in flow.
Yeah,
When you're in
exactly.
meditation, you're in flow.
Yeah.
And actually, every human in flow is in the next level of, you know, progression. Ultimately, you've got to be that person who loves what you do, but not just loves. Remember, there's a difference between thriving and passion. Thriving is not passion. Passion is intensely loving.
So I
what you
thought it
do.
was. I thought they're kind of intertwined,
They're
surely.
intertwined, but thriving is a bit more. A passion is loving what you do. Thriving is using what you love to solve a meaningful problem and powering up a solution. See, when you love what you do it all the time, but you don't know why you're doing it. Are you solving a meaningful problem? Are you creating impact? Thriving is bigger than that. It's loving what you do, attaching it to a meaningful problem, and being yourself, and building a powerful solution that advances a cause. So I love helping people grow. I'm passionate about it. I've spent 15 years in dental education, right? That was my passion. But I realized the real meaningful problem is actually using that education to help people grow, because so many people are in unfulfilled jobs or lost or stuck. That's the problem. Power up that solution so that it can help them make the leap. Now that's thriving. It's not just loving what you do, it's creating impact on something meaningful. That difference is very nuanced, it's very fine, but it is a big difference.
You know what, just as we started this conversation, I assumed that to thrive and to grow, you'd be employed, right? Whether you're self-employed, you own a business, or you're working for somebody. But it occurs to me that this could be for 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. There's no
Thriving.
age limit, right?
No, thriving is a way of life. In fact, you look at 5, 6, 7-year-olds, right? They're thriving all day long. They are just
They do
smiling.
nothing but thrive.
They do nothing but thrive, because they wake up and they go, this looks like something interesting. I'm going to try and work around that. And they adapt to their world around them, right? You put a 7-year-old anywhere and they find a way to just flourish, right? No complaints, no life, whatever. They just love it. Just stick them in the ground and they find a football from a stone or an oak and they start kicking it around.
So how's their thrive then, as they're transitioning from schooling and learning to the big wide world? What's happened in that transition? How have some people lost it?
Education is a problem. The focus is all on exams and A's and B's and scores, and you forget that.
Yeah, but you were an A student.
That's why I am where I am, because I recognize traditional success nearly put me up the creek wall. I've always said dentistry was there, it was fun, but I always had a niggle. I say this in my story, there was an internal niggle that tubule solved, and it's not until 20 years I realized actually my thriving wasn't dentistry. Dentistry was traditional success, achievement. We're always asking kids to achieve. I say, I don't enjoy this. Yeah, but you got to achieve this. And then you celebrate it with a certificate. I'm not saying don't celebrate, but what I'm saying is you're making the celebration, the external validation, the recognition, the awards more important than the process for the kids, right? And they come out of university, with a graduation 1-1, and I say, okay, brilliant. Well, you enjoying your course and what it stands for? I don't know, it'll give me a job. I learn 50 grand, 60 grand, whatever. It's all about the damned achievement. You get so addicted to achievement, you forget that why you're doing this. Then you go into a career and you go, oh, geez, I need to achieve more. So then you go, I need awards, right? Then you go, I need to achieve more. I need a promotion. You spend 40 years of your life, 50 years achieving promotions, just trying that. And then at retirement, you go, I'm going to do what I enjoy now. Come on, change it. For little children, let's allow them to thrive. Some kids will grow faster and some will grow slower. You have kids, I have kids, and a kid, and year 2, you have to have achieved this competency. Year 3, you have to have achieved this competency. Really? We have technology. We could say you are quicker, you can go here to here in half a year, you can go from here to here, take you a year and a half. Why does everyone have to progress at the same level because they're the same age? That is where the process is lost. Truancy in schools is at the highest, right? Because the kids want to do something that makes them thrive, and we've created an entire society system where we're putting traditional success there. Who connects with that crap? And then you wonder the problem. And then instead of understanding there's a deeper problem here of engagement and connection, no, we're going to force them to come to school. We're going to make parents sign things. What are you doing? Putting people into another prison. It is a prison when you go in and you don't enjoy something. People have got to rethink. That's where it gets lost.
It's a rules-based order, though.
It is a rules-based thing, but rules are good to do things, but you're completely creating rules to stifle the enthusiasm out of people, to stifle the ability for them to recognize I'm doing this for a meaningful reason, to stifle their authenticity out. And then you wonder why the world is a very unhappy, angry, frustrated place. And as humans, we should be looking after each other, not forcing each other. That's where it gets lost. So a kid goes into school at the age of 3 and asks, I don't know, something like 420 questions a day. By the time they reach the age of 18, they're probably asking 10 questions a day. You've destroyed the absolute ability of a person to be curious, to question, and to grow. And then you wonder why we are where we are. It's silly. And social media doesn't help, because social media is like a different form of achievement. Put a post up. I'm not posting to share. I'm posting to say, how many likes have I got? And the person who posts more looks successful, so the whole bloody industry follows them. That's not how you should be living.
But if you're successful and you've won lots of awards for your business and for your industry, surely that's a good thing, isn't it?
Do you enjoy what you do? Are you advancing a bigger human cause? It's a good thing for your own achievement. But what is that achievement leading to? That's the question. Are we in a world where if my business wins awards, then I'm successful, but have I made a difference to somebody else? Does he question that? No. I may be successful, but am I solving a meaningful problem? Am I authentic enough? Am I myself, or did I sacrifice who I am to achieve that? When we lose authenticity, when we lose meaning, when we lose creativity, that to me isn't success. That award can sit on the wall, but when you stare at it, you go, I gave up who I was to achieve that. I didn't actually make a difference to somebody else. I thought about myself when I won that award, right? You look at it and go, did I create something? Or did I actually sacrifice my creative abilities to achieve that? That award isn't worth anything other than solving and promoting your ego, number one. Number two, the world is changing. You're growing. If I didn't win that award, I will always be in a position of discomfort. I will always be in a position where you go, I'm not there yet. You grow. Awards and applause make you think, I've made it. What does that do? You go, I made it now. I'll sit back. You've just stunted your growth. You've fueled your ego instead of being humble. Humble people question everything they do. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect possibly, but they question everything they do. So to me, awards and rewards, they pump your ego and they dump your humility. And they basically stop you from growing, from making a difference, and from thriving.
Well, it occurs to me, after you having said all of that, that growth has to do with your own thinking, your own mindset. Where does mindset come into all of this then? Because mindset, it is different to growth, isn't it? Surely.
You've got to have the mindset for growth,
Right.
Perhaps. As Carol Dweck said, you have a fixed mindset, you have a growth mindset. Fixed mindset is, I'm never going to improve, and I need to prove I'm right.
Or you think that you are already at the top of your game.
You're already at the top of your game. In a rapidly changing world, you'll never be at the top of your game, and you have to continuously improve what you're doing. In essence, stunting your growth is about, and when you're top of your game, you prove. While someone who's not there and is growing wants to improve, and that's different. Do you want to prove or do you want to improve? When the world is changing, you improve. But Thrive's biggest thing is you're connecting to a meaningful problem, a meaningful cause. I stand for the cause of human growth. That means I can't stand still. I have got to continuously create and improve the ecosystem, the tools, the processes, everything we create for people's growth. I can't sit still because it's not for me, it's for a bigger purpose.
Okay, so people are watching this right now. They're thinking, Dhru, I love the sound of this. What's next for me? How do I get in contact with you? What do people do?
Find me. Find us on social media or anywhere and contact us. But the truth is, we do Thrive Talks. Listen to the Thrive Talk in detail. At least the introductory one, which is free. Understand it a bit more.
What are the Thrive Talks?
It's a simple, short kind of program we've put together. It takes a short time. Gives you a better understanding of Thrive and makes you think, is this for me? The second thing you can do is take the Thrive questionnaire, because Like I said, dynamic growth takes you to thrive, static growth takes you to traditional success and achievement type thing. Take the course because it'll tell you how much of a static and a dynamic you are. It'll tell you how powerful your mindset is ready for this fast changing world or not ready. Those things. If you really want to immerse, we then have a kind of a day program that gives you a bit more about Thrive. And if you really want to immerse into it, then you take the big program, you do all the other stuff really. It depends how deep you want to go with it. Ultimately, the question becomes, how important is it for you to be doing something meaningful, authentic, and powerful that will create an impact in the world, and keep doing that? If that's important to you, then it's worth following this path.
Yeah.
However, if awards and rewards are important to you, and trying to prove things is more important to you, then you've got to look elsewhere.
Okay. So as a business owner,
Yeah.
I want to get myself and the team involved. Do I come to you first and you enable me to grow and then I bring my team? Or can we all come together?
Always. Like I said, leadership belongs to you. If you're not thriving, you can't make others thrive.
Right.
Right? It's simple as you can see the glint in people's eye. So if it was a business, I would always say the leader's got to find their sweet spot that lights the spark inside them, that lights the fire in them. Then they can create the spark in their team. Then their team creates a spark with their customers. And ultimately, that's how fireworks happen.
So if you and I were in a bar, we sat down, we're having a drink, and we're looking at a couple of people at the far end of the bar, how would you know who is thriving and who isn't? How can you tell?
I suppose it's not the easiest thing to do just by tell. You've got to have some measurable parameter.
Or maybe you're
which is
listening
why
into their
the
conversation.
Questionnaire always helps. But when I see thriving people, I don't see them talking about how much money they earn and how much this is worth. I see them really talking about the thing, right? I sit there and I listen to them and they are enthusiastic about what they're doing. Not only that, that's the passion side. But then they think and they go, and you know, when I do this, it makes a difference for these people. That's the impact side. And so they're actually talking about their passion in a way that solves a meaningful problem for other people. And they're full of creative ideas. That's the thriving. The creativity comes with that. And their energy, the way they're talking, the tone of voice, the glint in their eye when they talk about this, all of that makes me think, I've just found someone who's thriving. And those are the kind of people I find I connect with as well, because just light up. They light up.
And you can tell, I guess, by hanging out with those people. But what would you say are the key points of somebody who's thriving? What's their personality trait like?
I don't think it's a personality trait. You can't find one. Everyone's different. Let's say it's the most times I just find them, they're talking about something that they just talk about naturally. It comes to them. No one needs to force them. Any conversation on that, and they just come out with it. And when they
So
talk
it's not
about
a forced conversation.
it's never a forced conversation with them. And I suppose like this, I'm telling you all this, and it just happens. But also, it's about how it's not just the thing they talk about. They talk about how it makes a difference to something, and it's very little about them. And that's what I love about it. And you can find those people around. And when you see their journey, they really, really morph. You find them, I was doing this, and then I evolved into this, and then I evolved into this. And someone who's traditional success goes, you've changed plan 5 times. That's what they go, right? While someone who's thriving goes, brilliant. This person is adapting and flexing around the world. And you see that, adaptability, creativity, authenticity, the passion. Those are the characteristics that come out of this.
You know, there's one thing that I'll say about you, Dhru. I first met you in 2009, many
Wow.
moons ago. And something that's always been with you all the time is authenticity, right?
Yeah.
The fact that you're really creative. And you play the keyboard as well, but you still play the keyboard as well, don't you?
Sometimes. Yeah, we created that Tubulize song, and yeah, it'd be my dream to just play on stage and have the time to practice every day.
I remember when you and I had this conversation about creating, you know, the Tubular song, and I said, Dhru, you know, if you can write a script for us so the singer can sing it. He said, yeah, I'll do it. And within 90 minutes, he sends me a WhatsApp message, probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. He says, here you go, Jem, what do you think? And you did it because you're thriving, because you're Your mind is creative, or what is it? Because you're constantly thriving, aren't you?
I hope. I hope. I'd like to be in the thrive state all the time.
The thrive zone.
Yeah, the thrive zone. And it's a nice place to be. I do things because they're fun, because they are meaningful, they make a difference to somebody else, and ultimately they let me be me. And, you know, that's what I want all day long. I'm not going to be somebody else. It's a compromise on my values and principles. I love creating. We need a creative world with all the challenges. And I believe that we've got to make a difference and contribute to a bigger cause that advances the human race or the human planet, and creates a better future for others. And if we had organizations that did that, instead of selfishly thinking about shareholder value all day long, those organizations could contribute so much to the world. We need a world less full of selfish idiots and more full of thriving individuals.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Wow. Dhru, thank you so much. What an incredible conversation. Your insights on what it truly means to thrive have been really inspiring, so thank you so much. That was a superb conversation with Dhru Shah. His insights on what it truly means to thrive, both in life and business, are a powerful reminder that success isn't just about what we achieve, but how we grow, how we contribute, and how we uplift those around us. If today's discussion has sparked something in you, take that first step, whether it's shifting your mindset, building your community, or simply embracing the idea that you are meant to thrive. Thanks for watching.